Alright, we are back. Game 2 is only slightly underway, so haven't given myself enough of a buffer, I don't think, in this one. At the same time, I was just looking to grab a small drink before we moved in here, because the solo casting does really take it out of you. Moisture, that is. Nothing else. Takes something else out of me. Alright. There's a possibly raunchy implication there, but I'll let you guys figure it out. First two bands from Legion's side are Ophelia and Magnus, and they've actually used 18 seconds of extra time here right off the bat, which is interesting. Usually don't see people taking that much time to debate their initial bans. More or less that's decided by the time the game goes through. And we'll see if that comes back to hurt them later on, only having 62 seconds of extra time for 4 more picks and 3 more bans now. But early pick on Cthulhu made quite easy as it was left unbanned. Obviously considered one of the biggest cancer heroes in the meta right now. Legion side of the Ophelia Magnus, Hellborn didn't take out Parasite and Swiftblade, so Curson not feeling like Parasite did him too many favors last game, and just been apparently not wanting to deal with Magnus, which is interesting because Legion side do play a pretty solid Magnus. Army of Mums, I think we've seen him play Magnus before and he does quite well, but he will get his Kraken taken away. We see Army of Mums play Kraken like every single freaking game, I feel like. I don't know why. I love that name too. It's a great name, Army of Mums. It's better with the British spelling too. M-U-M's, much better. But as a result of that first pick Kraken, he will not get to play what is either his favorite hero or Jisman's favorite hero for him. In either case, it's not going to be there. Cthulhu and Rhapsody, not too much synergy there between those two heroes, but definitely both very, very powerful, so no real problem picking them up early on, even if they don't necessarily work together the best. Tempest still on the board, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the Hellborn side pick that hero up at this point. The only one of the 3 traditional typical junglers left on the board. After that, we're looking at stuff like Keeper of the Forest, which is making a comeback, and I wouldn't be upset at all to see that hero here. Nope, gonna be Bubbles, so I like the Tempest pick. Please pick Tempest. And Bubbles and Kraken both going to be very solid Tempest ult counters, as they have pretty easy ways to deal with it, but it's still a powerful hero, and I think a slightly better hero than Keeper of the Forest if you're going to run them both, or if you are going to run Keeper in the jungle. It does mean that if they do pick up Tempest and Hellborn picks up Keeper, it's going to be basically impossible for Tempest to get a legitimate ult off unless he gets PK and the Hellborn side play really, really horribly. So we'll see what the choice is going to be for Jisman here, but again, dipping into his extra time, down to 50 seconds, and he's still got 3 more bans and 2 more picks to make after this one, and he still hasn't managed to make up his mind. So apparently, Game 1, not instilling too much confidence in the Solaire club, even though they basically ran away with it, and they really weren't afforded too much resistance on Telechubbies' part. And Jisman apparently considering his opponents, it's very important. And will be the Tempest, so no huge surprise there. Would be surprised to see the Keeper of the Forest from the Hellborn team. I have to note, both teams lack damage a fair bit. Bubbles can be a high damage output hero, but the vast majority of that damage is in the early game, which means that even by mid-game he starts to taper off, even though he's hitting level 11, level 16, and getting more powerful ultimates. His Q and his W in the Song of the Sea and Shell Surf, they both tend to do a fair bit less. People start picking up Mystic Essence, and Bubbles just really doesn't hit all that hard. He does a lot more in terms of lockdown with the Silence and the Kelp Field than he does in terms of legitimate output of damage. And the Legion are going to have a similar issue. So Cthulhu going to be very, very hard to kill in these games because he is not only difficult to kill in general, but he's going to be up against a team that doesn't actually hit all that hard. Kraken, similar situation, as he's generally tanky, generally difficult to kill, and especially against a team with a Rhapsody and a Tempest, neither of whom are necessarily the highest damage output heroes, and Cthulhu can definitely fit that description as well. Dr. Repulsor will fix some of the damage issues on the Hellborn side and also afford them a fair bit of chase potential. Now, that's one thing that the Hellborn are definitely going to be advantaged with, is their mobility. Kraken, Bubbles, and Dr. Repulsor, all very difficult heroes to pin down and kill as a result of their slippery nature. Kraken and Bubbles will pick up portal keys at some point. Of course, Dr. Repulsor has that ultimate. So, it's going to be real iffy when it comes to Legion side's lockdown. Tempest is going to provide a fair bit on his own, and so will Rhapsody. Cthulhu has a stun, but much, much easier to hit with a portal key, so wouldn't expect to see too much coming out from him early on. They're going to need both damage and CC out of their last 2 heroes, which is difficult to find in combination mostly because heroes that have damage and CC are obscenely powerful. Puppet Master, perhaps the only one on the board that really fits that description at this point, and I wouldn't mind at all if they managed to pick that hero up. I'm likely looking for a mid laner on top of that, so we'll see what they go with. Curson definitely identifying the fact that the Legion have no short lane here at this point. Banning out Dark Lady Silhouette, I would expect a third ban on a carry hero. No, Prisoner, in fact, is going to be the one that's removed, as they don't want to deal with the Prisoner and Tempest combination. Obviously, the hook into the Tempest ultimate. Unit doesn't have a portal key. Very easy to initiate with Prisoner hook, and then the Prison Break on top of the Gauntlet or the Tempest ultimate. Obviously, very difficult to deal with as well. So it won't be Prisoner. It will be Gauntlet in the middle lane. Just been feeling like, hey, last game went really well for me on this hero. Might as well do it again, see what happens. And that leaves their short laner open. And again, I'm eyeing that Puppet Master. I feel like that would be a really nice pick for this team. It's going to provide them a little bit more lockdown, especially for these heroes that are difficult to kill. And it will give them a fair bit of damage, especially if Tempest can manage to hit a pretty solid ultimate. Those Whiplash procs are going to be spreading a fair bit of hurt and pain to this Hellborn team. But Legion side's bans were Empath, Revenant, and Torturer, so figuring we've got a support, we've also got a jungler, we don't need any more supports, let's get rid of a whole bunch of supports. Hellborn side potentially going for a dual support lineup. As Glacius on the board, we've still got Engineer on the board, Pyromancer on the board, Witch Slayer. And then you have slightly more off-the-wall support, stuff like Voodoo Jester, Master of Arms, Polylog Priest. I guess NIM4 is more of the former category than the latter, but the Doctor Nymph combo actually would be really nice. Wouldn't mind seeing NIM4 here, and then a slightly more offensive support like a Pyromancer. Feels like that'd be nice. It would probably be a little light, actually. I prefer the jungler, so Keeper of the Forest or Solstice? Yeah. Blitz. Give him the choice. Don't like that for a number of reasons. First of all, he's relatively squishy. So the Legion side's lack of damage at this point, and Gauntlet's going to help fix that, of course, but their lack of damage is going to be assisted by the fact that it's a relatively squishy support in Blitz. It does have an escape mechanism in the Quicken, so you could consider it not that easy to kill. But I'm not a huge Blitz fan in general. I like him as a second support in a dual support lineup, but are you really going to go dual support here? I feel like the jungle is just so much better, and you're going to need damage output. You can get a little bit greedier, because Bubbles doesn't need too much farm. Even Kraken doesn't need too much farm. He'd like some, but not all that much. Dr. Repulsor doesn't need more than 450, 500 gold per minute. He's not a 700 GPM hero. I feel like you can get a jungler here, and it would work just fine in terms of the amount of farm that needs to go around. You look at the Legion lineup. Oh, okay. So Doctor is their jungler, actually. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the Malakim. It's a bit greedy, but it's fine. And that means that there will be a fair bit of damage getting spread around the possession, and being able to do a lot, especially with Kraken and Bubbles, preventing people from getting into a good spread formation. Hellborn side did pick up Magebane as their last selection, so Dr. Repulsor's going to hate that, but he's going to have to deal with the mana burn, and that is going to provide a pretty significant output of damage, especially if you can get that ultimate onto multiple heroes. Putting it on the Doctor and then having other heroes inside the AoE would be some pretty fantastic amounts of DPS. But at this point, actually, I don't think I'm going to favor either lineup particularly. I mean, Gauntlet worked out very well for them last game, but I'm not a huge fan of this hero in general, and he doesn't win all that much. That's the main reason. Most of them, in my opinions, are based purely on win rates, which is, I think, both objective and perhaps unfair, considering the vast majority of these heroes really haven't been played enough to consider their win rates anything but a potential fluke. I think Gauntlet has his place. I'm just not sure exactly where it is. We see some games where he does really well. We see some games where he does absolutely nothing. And I'd like a hero with a little bit more consistency than that. I'm just not that big a fan. Magebane is solid here. We don't think we see him quite enough. We don't see him quite enough. He's definitely very difficult to deal with, and we've seen KZ even playing in the Suicide role, where I think he can work. And then he does have a pretty solid damage output. Obviously, he's very, very difficult to kill, even with a little bit of tank items. That Blank Man, you gotta lock him down. I mean, he's the type of hero that forces you to buy certain items. He forces you to buy Hellflowers and Sheep Sticks and stuff like that. So, whenever you're, basically making your opponents go for a certain item route, I think it's always nice to limit their options because of how they have to deal with your hero. They can't play their game; they have to play your game. Legion will send the Cthulhu at top. Obviously, Cancer #1 at this point. Probably the most broken hero in the game, and going to be just fine, even against a dual lane of Blitz and Malakin top. Perhaps he's going to head bot, along with the Mage Bane to babysit him, and we'll go 1v1, toe-to-toe against this Bubbles for a little bit. Tempest, no huge surprise, going to be in his own woods, and should have just a fine time. No camps are blocked out, so shouldn't be any issues there. And as we talked about, Blitz going to be the top lane with Malakin, and a hero that we don't see a lot. Definitely has a lot of potential. The Pilfering there actually going to do a lot to deal with this Cthulhu, so maybe that's their theory, is they think that Blitz can deal with Elephant, and the Pilfering is definitely suggesting that that can be the case. The Elephant is unable, really, to... no, sorry, Craze. The Elephant's unable, more or less, to do anything against this Pilfering, because he can basically just steal all his mana. Just a nice trample away, and Blitz will be fine, but Cthulhu not going to be able to get anything else, so he'll have to pop his mana pot, or health pot, excuse me, and has 5 tangos left and a mana pot, so not hugely hurting in terms of regen, even with the health pot down. But Blitz seemingly actually might work out. The Pilfering is doing a fair bit to keep this Cthulhu down. It steals all of his move speed, which means that he can't return auto attacks, and obviously does a fair bit of damage as well. Dr. Repulsor in the jungle. We've seen this every so often, mostly from Solaire Club, actually, as Noob McNoob usually plays that jungle doctor. He's not even in the game right now. Hacksaw Dude is replacing him, but I would imagine Solaire Club have a pretty good idea of how to deal with this jungle doctor, because they're more or less the only team that consistently run it. And I would think that they should be able to handle it just fine, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has relatively little impact in this game, just because I don't know how much Epic Slacker has played this. I don't know how much experience he has on Dr. Repulsor in general. But Jungle Doctor, I don't think somebody can just pick up and do immediately. It's like Willowkeeper's pulling strat. It's not just, it looks easy maybe, but not easy to execute. So we'll see how Doctor does, but currently not off to the greatest start, just 180 GPM. Bubbles in the bottom lane has a haste turn, actually, as he got the 2-minute room control. Not too much action, but getting boxed out pretty effectively by this Rhapsody, and that means Mage Bane has free farm essentially. 280 gold per minute though, so he's either missing CS or Bubbles is somehow contesting him. I don't see how. Bubbles has 34 experience per minute, which means he's been arranged for exactly 1 creep kill. And yet, Mage Bane only 200 GPM. It's possible that Mage Bane has just been helping box out this Bubbles, and I would assume in fact that is the case. And now realizing Rhapsody can handle it on her own, and he needs to go back to farming because at some point it'd be nice if he got some GPM. Back to top lane, Malakin, along with the Blitz. Again, similar situation, letting his support box out the opposing team's suicide, and just focusing on his farm. 301 gold per minute for him, so actually not doing all that well either. And really, neither team's short lane carry. I'm kind of surprised that they're having this many issues. Hellborn did lose lane control leads for a little while, which allowed Cthulhu to get some levels. But and the bot lane, Cannondorf actually having some issues apparently with CS. Again, I didn't watch the whole thing, so I don't know how well it's going. But anyway. Middle lane, finally, is the Kraken versus the Gauntlet. I have extensively covered the other ones, but these two going at it pretty effectively. Just been actually winning, it looks like, at 333 gold per minute, 340 in fact, up against Kraken at 290, which is kind of surprising to me. Infernal Instability can be annoying to deal with, but Kraken has splash autos that actually don't cost him mana, so I would think that with the Torrent spam occasionally into the splash auto, that would do just about as much damage as the Infernal Instability, and just the splash, even by itself, would cost no mana and do a fair bit of damage. Blitz coming into the gank, but actually going to get hooked back into the tower. Infernal Instability is there. Rhapsody was going to lock down the Kraken. Looks like Blitz won't be able to pop the health pot. Last auto attack from Gauntlet gets the Bloodlust kill. And we'll see actually if Kraken might go down here as well. Bubbles is coming in, looking for the counter kill onto Gauntlet, but they're actually not going to do all that much damage. Level 1 Shelter from Bubbles just barely even tickling the Gauntlet, and he will just run away. Time's coming in, looking for some more farm. And if Gauntlet's going to leave, might as well just hang out and CS in this lane. Kraken to throw out a last torrent. And presumably he's going back to base, because if he hangs out here for too much longer, he could be in some trouble. No, apparently he wants to stick on. Glacial Blasts? No. Yeah, if he hit him with the Glacial Blast right there, that would have been a dead Kraken. He was only level 2, but with the elemental damage, that's probably going to be enough, because Kraken, of course, had no mana for charge. Instead, Kraken can run him back to base, refill his bottle, and head back and once again contest this Gauntlet. But Gauntlet has already turned, so getting a level advantage thanks to the Bloodlust kill, and now he's going to have even more of a level advantage because he'll have some free CS in this Creep Wave. Currently sitting at 400 experience per minute. That is the second highest in the game, as he's just behind this Tempest. So, haven't talked about Tempest too much, but doing quite well. 275 gold per minute on a Haxor Dude. Haxor Duty? That's a weird name. But having quite a nice time. Hasn't ganked too much, but really hasn't needed to, as Ralph's done an effective job of keeping those bubbles down, and he can just free farm the woods. So, speaking of bubbles, again, level 2. So he's basically gotten destroyed. He hasn't gotten a single CS. He's currently at the gold tick at 69 GPM. And he's gotten in range for 2 CS, which means he's hurting pretty good. And they compare that to Rhapsody, who's actually the lowest experience in the minute at 44. But they're trading levels on their hard support, their solo support, for levels on a Bubbles, who is very level reliant and actually going to get caught out in Tempest Ultimate here. That's going to be their death on, or first death in fact on Bubbles, not another death, that's not fair. But middle lane, Jisman actually going to get caught out as he dove a little bit too far. Let's go back and check that out. Gets charged right back in. Release of Kraken is there, and Kraken gets the kill and a solo experience. Rhapsody will be able to finish off the Kraken with the last auto attack. So not a bad gank, but Stand March not quite able to save his teammate from dying. And not really the greatest trade in the world for the Hellborn side. I think Kraken will take that, getting the solo experience for the kill on his opponent, while Rhapsody not really able to do as much with that kill. And in fact, now going to take over, put himself 4th lowest in experience from his shirts. Epic Slacker, I'm going to guess he has not played Jungle Lock before. 145 experience per minute, 152 gold per minute. He is having a suffer time. This is just, I mean, it's not working out for him. I don't know if he has experience playing this or not, but when we've seen Noob McNoob do it, this has not really been the result. It's been far superior to this. So, Doctor's not going to have an impact in this game, maybe ever, but at least for a very long time. Top lane actually could be in trouble, but Malkin has to walk all the way around because he put himself behind the trees, and that could be the difference between them getting the kill or not. I think you could argue he could have just stayed there and let Blitz give him vision, and that would have been a better situation. But instead, he walks all the way around, probably cost himself a couple of auto attacks, and that might have been the difference between Cthulhu living or dying. Either way, a bit of a misplay from Mania, and we'll see if it impacts him too much. Obviously, getting that kill would have been kind of nice. 340 GPM, so not having the worst farm in the world, but bottom lane actually Squirrel Face is going to die. We'll go back and watch that for a little bit. Obviously, is out of mana as a result of Mage Bane continuously auto-attacking him. Could not charge away, and Tempest just enough to help finish off the kill. So we're 8 minutes in here, and Tempest looking to push his first Tier 1 tower. Pretty easy in the bottom lane. Meanwhile, middle, Bubble's going to be in some trouble actually. Epic Slacker going to die as well as Elephant finds him in the woods. Presumably just got a little bit low, and Cthulhu with the trample and obliterate. Pretty easy kill. He is level 5, so has no ludicrous speed to get away from people. And may have been out of mana anyway. Probably looking for the 8-minute rune. Instead found an elephant and a death. But it'll be a Tier 1 tower in bottom in favor of Solaire Club. And I didn't really realize exactly how far ahead they are. But they're about 6k, 6.5k gold, 6.5k experience. Which is larger than their lead in the game in Game 1, despite the fact that they got Conquer. So 6-1 hero kill advantage. They won mid pretty heavily actually. Kraken currently sitting at sub 200 GPM compared to nearly 400 for this gauntlet. So got a pretty serious issue. Gets the charge off, but a beautiful hook actually stops that. Release the Kraken will only connect on Cthulhu, but he charges away. Will be just fine. Now Gauntlet coming back in with the Invis rune, looking for counter kill onto Kraken, not going to find it. A little bit too tanky, and does not have access to his ultimate quite yet, so not enough burst damage there. Looking for a hook. Will he find it? Trample actually going to connect onto the Kraken. Cthulhu can be in some trouble though, as Bubble's going to go through there. Last auto attack from Blitz not going to help. Blitz is in fact going to die also, so that's a double tap from Gauntlet. And he's going to continue to increase his farm, 430 gold per minute, and he's not actually that far off from his portal key at this point. And especially with a Tier 2 kill in bot, This is somehow going worse for Telechubbies than a level 1 Conqueror. Because this Bubbles has nothing. We're nearly... He has 2 CS. We're nearly 2 minutes in, or 10 minutes in this game. He has 2 creep kills. That's 2. He has as many creep kills as deaths. Man, that's painful. And he will get some farm here as they've taken both tier 2 or both towers in the bottom lane. I'm not sure that's good. I mean, like, yeah, it's going to open up the lane, but they lost 2 towers, and they're perhaps some of the least valuable towers in the game, but still not good. Anyway, Gauntlet and Raps can look for a kill in the Hellborn Woods. There's a Hellborn Wood site here that presumably spotted them out, so they probably know exactly what's going on. Rapsy also managed to drop a pretty deep ward of sight in the Hellborn Woods, and there's one here as well. Rapsy going to avoid the sword throw, but now going to get caught in between a rock and a hard place. Pretty easy kill. Looks like Gauntlet going to look for a counter at the very least, but here comes Kraken from the side as well. Rapsy going to be the first one to take a death. We'll see if Gauntlet will fall also off to the side here. Cthulhu trying to get a counter, but realizing pretty quickly that Gauntlet's dead, and there's no reason for me to involve myself in that because I can't save him. So, nice 2-man gank, or 5-man gank really. From Hellborn, it's 2-man kill, and they're going to get themselves a little bit back into this game here. 7.5k gold, 5.5k experience in favor of the Solaire club. At this point, Whispering Helm going to take over the Minotaur, and presumably Malakin going to send that off to the Ancients to stack them up. And Obliterate actually gets popped. Malakin does not have enough mana for a sword throw at this point. Trample is looked for, and it's going to need to land, otherwise that's going to be enough. He will get it, actually using Malakin's own Minotaur to get the stun right there, as it threw the Minotaur into Malakin, and then Malakin took the stun as well. So, well played from Army of Mums, actually. Managing to know exactly how that hero works, which is not necessarily a well-played part, but executing perfectly, essentially. I mean, yeah, that's exactly what he needed to do, and exactly when he needed to do it, so well done to him. He's currently at 300 gold per minute, so definitely not having a bad time either. And actually with this tier 1 tower kill, he could be out GPMing the Malakin, which would be bad. He won't, but he'll be close.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower.
305 gold per minute. Not that close, I guess. I kind of expected to go up higher than that. We're only 12 minutes in, but... Anyway, Doctor going to find the Rhapsody here, and Rhapsody could be in a lot of trouble. Blitz coming in with a quick in, Rhapsody trying to get away here, but Tempest actually has an Elemental Void, and we're going to see it. Yup, huge ultimate on everybody. Dance Floor gets dropped. First kill going to be on Epic Slacker on the Dr. Repulsor. Curson's dead second. Now Dr. Repulsor, they will finish off Rhapsody. Kraken going to be in a lot of trouble as well. Release Kraken gets dropped, doesn't matter. Gauntlet will get the hook on a Malakin. He has his ultimate up, but it's not going to matter. Stun Lockdown is there from Elephant, and he'll get a double tap. So it ends up being a 4-for-1 hero kill advantage there for the Legion. Trying to lose just the Rhapsody. And a pretty nice Tempest hole there from Haxer Duty. So props to him. But it's just a situation where Hellborn sort of ran into it. Like they really, I don't know if they didn't see him. It kind of seems surprising that they wouldn't have. But anyway, hook from Gauntlet, not going to connect with the Blitz. And he's trying to stun on his push, but that's not going to happen. 13-4 hero kill advantage from the Legion side. They have more hero kills than there are minutes in this game yet. But that's not going to be true for very long unless they get their kill. Elephant looking for something onto this Dr. Repulsor. He's level 7, so finally going to be a little bit more difficult to kill. Obviously, Tempest Ultimate makes that less difficult. Elephant in the middle of this, just like, yeah, I'm in, man. I mean, there's 4 heroes coming after me. I don't even care. Actually, Shellsurf didn't connect. He's going to try to TP out, and he's not going to go through as the Kelpfield does stun him. Meanwhile, Tempest is going to be in some trouble as well. Going to get locked down. Hook on a Malakin, though, and actually Portkey away from Gauntlet. Ultimate from Rhapsody will save Tempest. In the meantime, they will be able to finish off both Kraken and Dr. Repulsor. And Blitz trying to run away from this, but the Mage Bane is in. And Bubble's going to be able to get his Shellsurf off to the side. He should be fine. And going to teleport on out. Actually, the small camp is killing him, but they did not manage to see that. So they lose the Cthulhu, but they managed to take 3 more hero kills and force Hellborn back into their base. At this point, it's a loser's bracket. And Telechubbies are down 0-1, so if they lose here, they're out of Gold Cycle 4, but I don't see the road back. I mean, the GPM charts, you look at them, the Elephant's the 4th highest farmer on the team, and the 4th highest farmer in the game. Malakin has nothing. Dr. Repulsor has nothing. Kraken and Bubbles have less than nothing. Blitz has nothing. Where's it going to come from? The recovery potential for this team actually isn't all that good. Malakin can come back a little bit, but Dr. Repulsor doesn't farm all that well without some early items. he just did nothing in the jungle. He wasn't even contested. He just didn't really know how to farm that, it didn't look like. Anyway, Gauntlet could be in some trouble here. Actually, the lockdown's pretty effective, but Elephant coming in with his own portal key, now realizing pretty quickly that that's not the greatest decision. Going to pop the Dream of Madness, I think, at some point to allow him to get out of here, as there are 5 Hellborn heroes chasing him down. And here comes Magebane from the side, though. Elephant going to be able to charge away. Actually, he should be fine. Dream of Madness is going to be popped. Not quite. Reese the Kraken in the background, actually not going to connect on too much. Here comes Tempest and Magebane. Kraken pretty quickly realizing he's in a bad position, completely out of mana. Gets the Quicken on him. I don't think it's going to matter. There's a blink from Magebane. We'll get the double tap as the Blitz teleport is canceled by Elephant. And now coming back in here against Bubbles, he will be able to get off the Shell Surf port, and that's going to allow him to live. But Magebane, we haven't talked about him pretty much at all because he's basically been totally free farming the bottom lane. 630 gold per minute. In other words, he has as much farm as Dr. Repulsor, Bubbles, Kraken, and Blitz combined. So, this is essentially, if you can consider it this, Magebane versus Dr. Repulsor, Bubbles, Kraken, and Blitz. And then Malakin versus Gauntlet, Tempest, Cthulhufen, and Rhapsody. Now, in my opinion, Malakin's not going to win that fight. Magebane might lose it, but anyway, Tempest ultimately going to go through. Actually, the cancel pretty quickly by the Kelp field, as he does have a portal key, so got a nice ulti up, but not going to be enough. And the background Rhapsody will save all the damage done to Tempest. Kraken trying to lock him down. He will get silenced out by the Song of the Sea from Bubbles. Looks like Blitz going to be the first one to fall off the bat. Rhapsody ultimate, or auto attack, going to be able to follow him. Kraken charge in the background. Rhapsody going to be in some trouble. Looks like she'll be the next one. Nope. Just when actually in the Gauntlet going to fall. There goes Cthulhufen as well. And Tempest going to die also. So all of a sudden, Hellborn coming back a little bit, but here comes Magebane. Malakin dead right after the Kraken, and we'll see what else he can get. Bubbles going to be in some trouble as well. Gets the silence off, but already had to use the blink. And Magebane going to get the hat trick. Looks like Doctor actually going to be able to live and get the counter kill. So, ends the champion of newer streak on Ganondorf, but I suspect they don't care. It's 22-11 hero kills at 17 minutes. They know how far ahead they are, or they at least have some idea. Magebane has more than double the farm of anybody in the Hellborn team, and in most cases triple, if not more than that. Yeah. We're rapidly approaching the coveted 1,000 gold advantage per minute for Solaire Club here. And usually when you start to see gold differentials at that level, it typically means the game is unrecoverable. I mean, like, the reason that we don't see that sort of stuff at 40 minutes, you never see a 40k gold lead, is because games that have that kind of differential don't go to 40 minutes. So it's usually a pretty good indicator that a game's over. I mean, occasionally we'll see 25, even 30k gold leads if the game goes sufficiently late, and then things start to turn heavily in favor of one team. But that usually means the early game wasn't this bad for one team. Looks like Telechubbies is going to stick in it. If they didn't want to concede last game, I don't anticipate they will this game. Although, I would say for my own sanity, and for the sake of not wasting everybody's time, it seems like that they probably should just bow out of this series. As I just can't imagine Solaire Club losing this game at this point. And it looks like they feel the same way. No real reason to stop doing this. Magebane's actually bottom by himself. In the background, Gauntlet going to get jumped by multiple heroes. Kraken could be the first one to die, though. Yep. And a possession actually in the background going off. Magebane's here with his Energizer. We'll see if he can get any counter kills. Yeah, Bubbles going to be in a lot of trouble. Rhapsody ultimate not going to stop too much damage. Actually, Malakin throwing an auto attack onto a Bubbles that was, who was that even? Tempest that was helped by Rhapsody. Cursing going to fall as well in that Blitz. Not that big a deal because, hey, he's the hard support Blitz. And somewhere in that entire equation, Kraken died. I guess, yeah, no, he was the first one to drop to Gauntlet. But at the end of the day, it is 4 heroes dead on Hellborn and a tower dead in favor of Legion. And they're like, hey, why should we ever stop pushing? Except for Ganondorf, who apparently hates his teammates, because he has absolutely no interest in continuing to push this. He just wants his GPM. He's like, you kill the tower, I get GPM off of that. Blitz is dead. Gauntlet Blast was not, it was just Infernal Instability, I thought it was Gauntlet Blast, I don't know why. But jump away from Cthulhu actually before the Hellborn side start to engage. Tempest now could be in some trouble, has no ultimate actually, released Kraken right at his face. Pretty easy kill in the end. Went down relatively quickly, only 1157 health. And then his Ashley was on cooldown. Rhapsody now in a lot of trouble, and it looks like she will fall as well. Yep, gonna take the death. Meanwhile, in the background here, Epic Slacker on the Dr. Repulsor also gonna die. Gauntlet lockdown, especially with Cthulhu a little bit too much. Cthulhu getting a 3-main trample. And where's Ganondorf? Here he comes. He wants kills, but he's waiting. Gauntlet has backed off, not feeling like he wants to do anything else, not really high enough on health or mana to continue to engage. This is what happens, Ganondorf. If you'd be there in these fights, then your team would clean up a lot easier, and you'd get some kills too. Instead, you gotta be a team. You can't be a team player, man. This guy, unbelievable. Well, he's still Hellborn Ancients, because why not? He's gonna look to complete his Dawnbringer, has a Searing Light. So he's now got 2 farming items, Searing Light and Rune Cleaver on top of the Elder Parasite. Alrighty, why not? Again, we're in the same position as last game, where his farm is too good, and they're too far ahead for his item choices to really matter. As long as he doesn't literally just do nothing with his gold, which either means pool it up, or just like buy wards and kill them, or buy health pots and kill them, or buy couriers or some dumb crap like that. As long as he spends it on, you know, somewhat helpful items, they're still going to win this game, just because you can go bad item builds if you get them early on. It doesn't matter. Not that this isn't necessarily a bad item build, just that you get my point. Well, speaking of Ganondorf and his items, regardless if they're good or bad, he's actually going to be present for this game engagement, looks like. Meanwhile, they're going to jump on top of this Kraken. Here goes the Gauntlet Blast right on top of him. He will be in a lot of trouble. He charges away, but in fact, they get the counter onto Blitz as the hook hits him. And the Tempest Ultimate in the background releases the Kraken. Not going to hit it. Not going to get canceled here. All those heroes that can take it out, and none of them can stop it. That's a couple dead already on the Hellborn side. Kraken has bought back. Looks like Dr. Repulsor will be able to get away. Kraken trying to stop this as best he can, but nothing he can do in the end. Epic Slacker and Squirrelface both powerless against the 5-man push of the Legion side without any of their teammates. Even with their teammates, they'd be mostly powerless, but Doctor's going on an adventure trying to find this Cthulhu, and actually Cthulhu going to be in a lot of trouble, gets trampled but not going to survive. They do lose the mid-racks on the Legion side. Dawnbringer finished up by Ganondorf, because again, why not? And Rhapsody will finish off her push book. Tempest, of course, has the PK Astrolabe and Ring of Sorcery, stuff he's had for a while, so Shrunken Head presumably is his next item of choice. Gauntlet working on Hellflower, presumably to lock down that Dr. Repulsor. Blitz is for some reason running in, I don't know why. Dodges the Gauntlet hook, that's not bad. Glacial Blast from Tempest, not going to be there. And looks like Epic Slacker sort of wants something here. They will pull Tempest back in, but he's actually not that valuable here as he doesn't have an ultimate. And he is going to die, but I don't think it's going to matter because he's going to get counter kills on the Kraken and Doctor and Blitz and Bubbles. As he puts the take cover down, but again, they don't care. And he's dead, so Hook back actually going to hit onto Mage Bane, but looks like CC vote is going to get called and goes through. So Telechubbies, not looking great. Rather interesting, as they had a very good start to the cycle, but at this point, apparently having some more issues. Squirrelface is not a typical player for them. Merkinian is their usual last player, and I don't know if that's what it is, if they just don't feel as comfortable playing with him, if he's not as good technically, or whatever it is, but not really looking like the same Telechubbies team we saw earlier in the cycle. Solaire Club, on the other hand, looking calm, cool, composed together, and ready to beat the world, so they're going to be able to take on Shrek is Love in the next series, as they Shrek is Love managed to take out TZP, so that's going to be a pretty serious challenge for them. Solaire Club was initially dropped to the losers bracket by Shrek is Love. They lost 0-2 to them in the round of 8, so I mean a relatively early loss, but again a relatively good team in Ogre. And in the end, we'll get a rematch. We'll see how they do. Meantime, Telechubbies, as I said, knocked out, but excellent performance in general from Solaire Club, and I'm liking this new lineup. Well, ish. They're not really new. I mean, Haxer Duty is sort of different. New McNoob is usually there, but a consistent team on the scene is Solaire Club, and one that is usually at least in the mid-tier of gold, if not even higher. Definitely looking like they could perhaps be moving on up. There is some improvement to be had there. in this team, at least in Cycle 4. So I'm excited to see what they can bring as the rest of the cycle continues, and then again, of course, in Cycle 5, 6, 7, and 8. Meantime, that'll do it for this series. So Solaire Club taking it 2-0, they move on. Telechubbies are knocked out,